Good morning, friends. Myself, Chitresh Gupta, Chartered Accountant. I am recording this video because various changes have been made in GTA services due to recommendation of the GST Council, and various notification has been issued in this regard. So let me share my presentation. In the presentation, first I'll be discussing the earlier scenario of GTA taxability. Then I'll be discussing the revised scenario. Then I'll be discussing how forward charge option can be exercised by GTA. Then I'll be discussing the certain assumptions which has been withdrawn. Then I'll be discussing the issues and challenges for the industries. Then the actionable for GTA. Now the CBIC has issued 3 notifications basically with regard to bring the changes in respect of GTA services. First, they have made the changes in the rate through the rate change notification. Then there is some changes which has been made in the reverse charge notification. Then there are some changes which has been made in the assumption notification in order to withdraw some of the assumptions which were available to the GTA. Now, first, let us discuss the earlier scenario of GTA taxability. Under the earlier scenario, GTA was having 2 options. First is the RCM option, in which the tax is to be paid by the recipient of service, and second option was the forward charge mechanism, wherein the tax has to be paid by the GTA at the rate of 12% under forward charge. So first of all, let us discuss the reverse charge option, wherein the tax has to be paid at the rate of 5% by the recipient of service. So if the GTA is providing services, GTA services to the specified recipient, then in that case, the specified recipient was liable to pay tax under reverse charge. And who is the person liable to pay? The person who is liable to pay the freight to the goods transport agency. And if the GTA is providing services to the non-specified person, the non-specified person means which have not been specified in the reverse charge notification, meaning thereby if I talk about the specified recipients, the specified recipients are specified in the reverse charge notification, and they are factory, society, cooperative society, any other person registered under the GST law, then body corporate, partnership firm, and casual taxable person who are located in taxable territory. If the GTA is providing services to some other recipient other than these recipient, in that case the GTA earlier also was liable to pay tax under forward charge, and in that case the GTA was liable to pay the tax at the rate of 5% under forward charge with no ITC of on the goods or input services. And in the earlier scenario, if the GTA has opted for the forward charge, in that case the GTA was liable to pay the tax at the rate of 12%, and the recipient may be specified or the unspecified. And as you know, in this case the tax has to be paid by GTA under the forward charge mechanism. Now, friend, let us come to the revised scenario of GTA liability. So, as I discussed in the previous slide, the earlier scenario of reverse charge will remain as it is, but some changes has been made in case of forward charge mechanism by GTA. So, like I have discussed in the earlier slide, the GTA was having the default option to pay tax under reverse charge, and where recipient is and the recipient is one of the specified recipient, that is factory, society, registered under Societies Act, etc., etc. In that case, the GTA in that case the recipient was liable to pay tax at the rate of 5% with no ITC to GTA, but definitely the ITC was payable to the company who was paying the tax under reverse charge. And earlier, as I discussed in the previous slide, there was default forward charge option where the recipient is other than the specified recipient. In that case, the GTA was liable to pay the tax under forward charge, and that too at the rate of 5% with no ITC to GTA. Now let us see what is the change. Now the GTA, now some changes have been made in the forward charge option which was available to GTA. Now the GTA has to exercise the option of the forward charge, and in this case the recipient of GTA service may be specified or unspecified, like in the earlier slide I have discussed, like factory, society, registered person, etc., etc. So in this case, if the GTA has exercised the option to pay the tax under forward charge, in that case the GTA can pay the tax at the rate of 5% with no ITC. तो फ्रेंड्स, अगर मैं यहाँ पर रुकूं और यहाँ पर नोट करूं, पहले अर्लियर सिनेरियो में जीटीए को 5% टैक्स फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में पे करने की ऑप्शन नहीं थी, उसको 12% टैक्स पे करना पड़ता था अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज। 5% जो टैक्स पे करता था वो रिवर्स चार्ज में रिसिपिएंट पे करता था। नाउ अंडर द चेंज, जो मेरी चेंजेस आए हैं, अमेंडमेंट आई है, उसमें जो जीटीए है वो भी 5% का टैक्स पे कर सकता है अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज विथ नो आईटीसी ऑन गुड्स और सर्विसेज। और जीटीए को ये भी ऑप्शन दे दी गई है कि जीटीए जो है जीएसटी जो है 12% के रेट से पे कर सकता है विथ आईटीसी ऑन गुड्स और सर्विसेज। नाउ इफ द जीटीए वांट टू ऑप्ट फॉर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज, इन दैट केस has opted for a forward charge, in this case the GTA has to put a declaration in the invoice, each and every invoice which has been issued by the GTA, and the format of declaration has been given in annexure 3rd to this notification. Now what this annexure contains, this annexure contains a declaration wherein the GTA has to mention that he has taken the registration under CGST Act and exercised the option to pay tax under forward charge mechanism, so that the person who is receiving the invoice from the GTA should be aware that the GTA will be discharging the tax under forward charge, and that person is not required to discharge the liability on the GTA services under reverse charge mechanism. Now the question arises, yes, I am a GTA, I want to opt for the forward charge option, then how to exercise this option? So if the GTA want to exercise the option to pay tax under forward charge mechanism, in that case the GTA has to file the declaration in annexure 5 to the jurisdictional GST authority, and this option can be opted for financial year 2022 to 31st March 2023, also with effect from 18 July 2022. Reason being, this notification is effective from 18 July 2022. So definitely the option can be exercised for the remaining part of the year. So if you want to exercise this option for the remaining part of this year, in that case this option has to be exercised before 16th August 2022, and all the invoices which are required to be issued under FCM can be issued from 18 July 2022 to 16th August 2022, meaning thereby, since the government has given the time to the GTA to opt the forward charge mechanism up to 16th August 2022, in that case the question arises कि जब ये नोटिफिकेशन मेरी 18 जुलाई 2022 से एप्लीकेबल है, तो what will happen to the invoices which has been issued between this transitory period, meaning thereby 18 July 2022 to 16th August 2022. तो इस नोटिफिकेशन में उन्होंने क्लियर कर दिया कि अगर जीटीए एफसीएम को ऑप्ट करना चाहता है तो वो 16 अगस्त से पहले ऑप्ट कर ले, और जो इनवॉइस वो 18 जुलाई से 16 अगस्त के बीच में इशू करता है वो रिवाइज फॉर्मेट में ही इशू हो. दैट इनवॉइस शुड कंटेन द जीटीए लायबिलिटी अंडर एफसीएम and should also contain the declaration which are required to be given on the invoice as contained in annexure 3. Now for subsequent financial years, for the subsequent financial year the option needs to be exercised on or before 15 March of the preceding financial year, meaning thereby for the financial year 23-24, the option needs to be exercised before 15 March 2023, meaning thereby the GTA will be required to opt for the forward charge mechanism option for each financial year separately. And it cannot be like that ki once the GTA has opted for the forward charge mechanism, and it will be remain valid for the all the subsequent financial years. So for each financial year, the GTA has to exercise this option and has to opt for forward charge mechanism. Now, friend, this is the format of option which needs to be exercised by the GTA. So the GTA required to give the declaration in this format to the jurisdictional GST authority for exercising the option to pay tax under forward charge mechanism. So, but how this declaration is to be given? It is to be given on the GST portal, or it has to be submitted manually to the department. The law is silent on this respect. As of now, no changes has been made on the GST portal in this regard. Now let us come to withdrawal of assumption on certain GTA services. So these two assumptions have been withdrawn in case of GTA services. First is goods where consideration charge for transportation of goods on a consignment transported in a single carriage does not exceed 1,500 rupees. And the second is goods where consideration charge for transportation of all such goods for a single consignee does not exceed 750 rupees. So friend, this assumption was continuing from the service tax regime and was available in GST also. Now this assumption has been withdrawn with effect from 18 July 2022. Now let us come to certain issues and challenges which arises due to changes made by these notifications. Now let us discuss first scenario wherein the unregistered GTA to become registered and opt for FCM, फॉरवर्ड चार्ज मैकेनिज्म, मीनिंग देयर बाय जो अभी जीटीए है वो अनरजिस्टर्ड है, जो कि रिसिपिएंट उस पे जो है रिवर्स चार्ज में टैक्स पे कर रहा है, लेकिन वो इस नोटिफिकेशन के इशू होने के बाद वो फॉरवर्ड चार्ज मैकेनिज्म में जाता है, तो उसको क्या क्या इश्यूज आएंगे, मीनिंग देयर बाय हो सकता है उसने जो है फाइनेंशियल ईयर 21-22 में कुछ ट्रक्स खरीदे हों जिनकी लाइफ जो है 5 इयर्स की हमने अज्यूम करी हुई है जीएसटी लॉ में, तो बेसिकली जो ट्रक्स हैं अगर वो अनरजिस्टर्ड था और रिवर्स चार्ज में रिसिपिएंट टैक्स दे रहा था तो उसको जो है उन ट्रक्स वगैरह पे आईटीसी नहीं मिला होगा, लेकिन उन ट्रक्स की लाइफ अभी जो है रिमेनिंग लाइफ बाकी है, तो व्हाट विल हैपन टू दैट आईटीसी, तो लेट अस डिस्कस दैट सिनेरियो इन डिटेल. So if I talk about the earlier scenario, this registration status of GTA is unregistered and the recipient of service liable to pay tax under RCM at the rate of 5%, and eligibility of claiming ITC by GTA on input services and capital goods is not applicable since GTA is unregistered. So friends, if I talk about the revised scenario applicable after the after the changes, so the registration status of GTA will be registered, and since the GTA has opted to pay tax under forward charge mechanism, so maybe the GTA may be paying the tax at the rate of 12% under FCM, and in that case the recipient of service will pay the tax to the GTA and will not deposit anything under reverse charge mechanism to the government. Now the question arises, what will be the eligibility of claiming ITC by the GTA on the input services or capital goods? So friends, going forward from 18 July 2022, if the GTA has opted for the forward charge mechanism and paying the tax at the rate of 12%, so definitely the ITC will be available to the GTA, whether for the input services or capital goods. Now the issue arises, with respect to the trucks which have been purchased by the GTA in earlier years and when he was not registered or not claiming ITC. So the notification which has been issued by the government is silent on this aspect. So in our view, if the GTA has purchased the truck, suppose if I take an example, if the GTA has purchased a truck in financial year 21-22, then in such case the GTA would not have availed the ITC on the purchase of such truck in financial year 21-22. Now also not eligible to claim the ITC on such trucks as the above provisions do not cover ITC on capital goods, meaning thereby the notification which has been issued by the government of India does not take into account this scenario. And if we go into the other provisions which are available in the GST law, like section 18, which talks about the eligibility of credit under certain special circumstances, like input tax credit in case of new registration, yeah, when the exempt supply becomes a taxable supply, etc., etc., does not take care of this situation which has been there in this in case of GTA. Like if I take example of section 18, subsection 1, clause 8, it talks about the eligibility of input tax credit in case of new registration, meaning thereby आप पहले unregistered थे, अब आप जो है you have become liable to registration and you go for the registration. So in that case, section 18 subsection 1 clause A says कि the newly registered person will be eligible for credit on the inputs held in stock, semi-finished goods held in stock, and the finished goods held in stock. Now, this provision does not cover the credit on capital goods like trucks. So definitely this provision cannot be applied in our case. So now there is a confusion, like now the GTA opt for the forward charge mechanism. So how that GTA will be eligible to claim the credit on the old trucks? This is one issue. If we go further in this scenario, and I'll discuss case 2. Under case 2, the registered GTA under RCM to opt for FCM at the rate 12%, meaning thereby the GTA was registered and the tax was paid by the recipient of service under RCM. So GTA may be registered due to various reasons, like the GTA may be providing some other services like warehousing services, etc., etc. Now the GTA want to opt for the 12% tax under forward charge mechanism. So again, the similar situation will arise. See what will happen to the ITC of the trucks which have been purchased under earlier period. Now, whether we can say the since the GTA was providing the GTA services which were covered under RCM, so these services should be treated as exempt supply for the purpose of GTA. So now, sir, if we go through the definition of exempt supply which has been given in the CGST law, the exempt supply means supply of any goods or services or both which attract nil rate of tax or which may be wholly exempt from tax under section 11 or section 6 of the IGST Act. So and the non-GST taxable supply. So friends, you can see the definition of exempt supply here does not include these kind of supplies, RCM supplies. And if I go to the specific provision of section 18 subsection 1 clause D, which talks about the claim of ITC in case of exempt supply becomes a taxable supply. So again, when we say the RCM supplies on which tax needs to be paid under RCM is not exempt supply as per section 2 subsection 47. So this section cannot be applied in this case. So again, there is a confusion. What will happen to the input tax credit in case of trucks or capital goods purchased in earlier years. The we can discuss third scenario also, wherein there is a registered GTA under FCM to opt for default RCM 5%, meaning thereby now in this case the GTA is registered and that GTA is paying the tax under forward charge mechanism. And now after the issue of these notification with effect from 18 July 2022, that GTA opt for RCM at the rate 5%, meaning thereby uh, uh, maybe he opt for RCM at the rate of 5%, or maybe he may start charging GST at the rate of 5% with no input tax credit. Now again, we have to see how the credit reversal in case of trucks which has been purchased in earlier years needs to be done in this case. Whether the rule 42 and 43, which applies in case of proportionate reversal, in case of in case the goods are used for making the taxable supply as well as exempt supply, will apply. So yes, there is a confusion and detailed calculation may need to be done to see how much credit needs to be reversed and how this provision actually needs to be implemented in the true sense. Now, friend, let us come to the challenges which are there for the corporates. The first challenge for the corporate is how to ascertain whether GTA vendor has opted for FCM or RCM. तो फ्रेंड्स अभी क्या होता है कि आपके पास जीटीए की इनवॉइस आती है, अगर उसमें 12% से टैक्स नहीं लगा तो डेफिनेटली यू वो पे द टैक्स अंडर आरसीएम. लेकिन अब क्या है कि जो जीटीए की इनवॉइस आएंगी उस पर 5% से भी टैक्स अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज लगा हो सकता है. तो इन दैट केस द कॉर्पोरेट नीड्स टू बी मोर विजिलेंट कि दैट कि whether the GTA is paying the tax under forward charge or they are required to pay the tax under reverse charge. So one way may be that since the GTA is required to give the undertaking on the invoices that he is registered and paying the tax under forward charge, so in that case the corporate need to take the undertaking in account, and the person who is passing the bill will need to see the each and every bill very carefully. Then the invoices of vendor usually come late for processing, and freight entry is recorded through transportability impact on RCM calculation. So friends, I have seen in case of many of our clients that the freight entry is booked on the basis of transportability, while the bill for the transport services comes late. So in that case, it will be a challenge for the company to determine whether they are required to pay the tax under reverse charge, or the vendor, the GTA service provider will be charging the tax under forward charge mechanism. Then this separate list of GTA vendors under RCM and FCM needs to be maintained and need to be updated every year, which implies change in vendor master every year. So since the company may be having 6-7 GTA service providers, so we need to see which GTA service provider is under RCM and which GTA service provider under FCM, and need to change the vendor master every year. Then in case GTA vendor informs that corporate for opting the FCM and was not able to opt within the due time frame, again needs to cross check with each vendor, meaning thereby suppose if I take the present scenario, the GTA can opt for the forward charge mechanism up to 16th August 2022. Now if the GTA issues the invoice now in the month of July, say 20th July 2022, now the company is not sure whether that GTA is going to opt for the forward charge mechanism or whether he will actually opt. So it will be a difficult proposition from the company to ensure that whether the GTA will be opting for the forward charge mechanism or they need to pay the tax under reverse charge mechanism. So suitable undertaking may be taken from the GTA vendors. then prudently recording accounting entries of GTA by corporate after ensuring status of GTA vendor. The proper recording of entries of freight is also very important for the industry, meaning thereby I have seen in our clients cases, like what they do, they see the freight ledger ki how much amount of freight has been booked, and they apply the rate of 5% and pay the tax under RCM. So going forward, this method of calculating RCM liability will not be possible. Reason being, there may be some vendors who may be paying the tax under forward charge, or there may be some vendors who may be paying the tax under reverse charge, and all these entries may be booked under the freight ledger. So you have to segregate the entries in the freight ledger on which you are required to pay the tax under RCM and on which forward charge has to be paid. Now let us come to the actionables for goods transport agency. So sir, in case of GTA, they have to take the decision to opt for FCM. Basically, first is decision to opt for FCM has to be taken GSTN wise. So sir, ये जो change आया है, it is not that it is on the PAN number wise कि उसे जो है सारे registration में एक ही option को exercise करना है. The decision can be taken on the GSTN wise, taken into account various factors applicable to GTA. If the GTA has opted for forward charge mechanism, it can charge tax 5% without ITC or 12% with ITC within the same GSTIN. तो GTA को ये भी एक consideration में रखना पड़ेगा कि उसको कौन सा option beneficial है, and they need to prepare the scenario कि in which of the scenario there is a more benefit to the GTA service provider, whether 5% or 12%. Once the GTA opts to pay the tax itself by making a declaration in aforementioned annexures, it shall be valid for a complete financial year. तो सर जैसा कि मैंने पहले भी बताया था, अगर उसने एक बार फॉरवर्ड चार्ज मैकेनिज्म के ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज कर ली, तो it will be valid for the complete financial year and it cannot be withdrawn during the financial year. Thus, GTA shall analyze prudently before opting any option for the financial year, especially the issue of ITC carry forward. जो हमारा पुराने ट्रक खरीदे हैं उसमें ITC हमारा कैसे carry forward होगा. So friends, thanks a lot for the patient hearing. So if you have any questions, the questions can be emailed to my email ID, which is chitresh.gupta@gstexperts.net. Thanks a lot.